Joining us now to discuss Herb London, London Center for Policy Research president. Everyone knows what an ideal, trade agreement would look like. But if we were offered massive inroads to China's economy, lower tariffs, but not much on IP, should we take it?
I think in the end, I think this administration will do so, largely regarding this as a celebratory moment and suggesting that what we have done is opened up China's markets. One of the great concerns is, of course, tariffs on some of our farm goods. The Midwest becomes critical in the 2018
Which, by the
elections.
way, is one of the reasons, one of the things that drove the ZTE deal.
That's right.
The reversal on that.
Exactly. And that if the president can get some sort of concessions that would allow him to go to the Midwest in 2018 with the Republican Party saying, look, we've made these inroads, I think that this administration will use this as a rhetorical way of suggesting it's been a victory for the Trump team. By the way, on a personal level, I'm not very happy about it because I do think that the stealing of IP is a critical matter, and this is a time to address it. But I don't think that will happen.
China, I think, understands what we want. They played us perfectly. They went immediately after agriculture. They played those states where President Trump won. But a lot of them, prior to that, Obama won those states. They know that they're still fickle.
They're playing to our free market card. I mean, Larry is a free marketeer, as am I, by the way. But at the same time, the free market has to live within the constraints of some rules. And those rules involve protecting intellectual property in the United States.
So, Herb, how come so many intellectual, conservative economists and great thinkers on the right have ignored that part and said this is a huge mistake. We shouldn't have gone down this rabbit hole in the first place. We just want free trade because ultimately that's the ultimate elixir.
They ignore what has been happening with China over the last 20 years. What you've seen is the Chinese will look at a company, they will steal the intellectual property, they will then develop a company of their own. They'll force that company out of the original company out of business, and the Chinese will come to dominate that market. That is the strategy for the future for the Chinese. It's an intolerable situation for the United States. On the other hand, as I've suggested, what people have their eye on at the moment are the congressional elections in 2018. And I think, unfortunately, that is going to prevail.
Everyone kind of agrees and will probably get a deal, but it might be the wrong deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when will we realize that, Herb? About how long will it take until we say, you know what? When China's running those submarines, undetected nuclear submarines for 5 months at a time, or when they break into all of our secret military encryptions and they break those, is that when we'll realize it?
Well, I think that we're going to realize it even sooner. But unfortunately, the public is not focused on this issue.
Right.
And that is a problem.
Right.
But it seems to me that you think my colleagues here have it exactly right. The intellectual property issue is an issue for 2025.
Right.
The Chinese recognize we're building the Silk Road. We're going to do it with intellectual property obtained from the United States.
Well, back with us now, Herb London. And I don't know, Herb, it felt like President Trump was negotiating to the press there, pushing back on the idea that, hey, we've got you. You know, the big issue for them, obviously, is Bolton made some comments that made them say, hey, listen, we're not Libya. We're not some of these other countries. We already have nukes. We already have the ability to get them almost anywhere we want in the world. We're dealing from a greater position of strength. So they negotiated that way. It feels like that was maybe the answer Kim Jong-un was looking for, that he will retain power and America won't take him out.
I think one of the great questions is when you talk about the denuclearization of the peninsula, South Korea does not have nuclear weapons. The United States provides a nuclear umbrella. The Chinese are in the background, and they have met with Kim Jong-un, who is the stalking horse of the Chinese in this matter. And what they are looking for is the withdrawal of American influence in Asia, not just in South Korea, but in Asia, where, in fact, the United States is providing a nuclear umbrella for Japan and for so many of the peripheral states around China. The Chinese have said, we want to be the hegemon in the Pacific Basin. The United States stands in our way. Let's see whether, in fact, we can use these negotiations to reduce American influence.
If we were to pull out of Japan, though, they would have to revamp their constitution from that pacifist constitution, no?
No question.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
Article 9.
So we'd have an arms race.
We would have an arms race. Article 9 would have to be modified, and the Japanese would, of course, have to develop nuclear weapons, and maybe they should.
Now it feels like he's got this reassurance. President Trump made it and said it in front of the entire world. Do you think that the meeting of the summit will still happen?
I think the meeting is going to happen because the Chinese want it to happen. It's not at all surprising that Kim Jong-un has made 2 trips out of North Korea, one to China, the second to China. I know what they're discussing. They're obviously discussing the role that the Chinese will play in these negotiations. And as I've suggested to you before, the Chinese have a goal in mind. That goal is to reduce American influence.
Let me ask you, because just hours ago, Gina Haspel she received enough votes for a confirmation, the new head of the CIA. She's now the first woman ever in that position as on top. What do you make of it?
I think she's terrific. I think she's an outstanding candidate. She's had 33 years of experience with the CIA. She has run a clandestine operation within the CIA. She is widely regarded as someone with extraordinary integrity. She's a great person.